So, here's the deal. Oh yeah, they turned on the flashlight. That one is known, but I think that yesterday I was feeling was bad. So first off, incident that happened yesterday as I was leaving the bridge. Start by mentioning that. With the other phone, the Argentina phone that was listening to music yesterday, the one that they listened to inside the mall, and in that song, the Vagabond song, Boom Boom Boom, I think, there is this part when they scream and you can hear the criminal scream 1 or 2 seconds after they scream in the song. I pointed that out, you can listen to that. What else? So they were listening to what I was listening to on my phone. And on top of that, I will have one more thing. Leaving the bridge yesterday, there was this female that I presume to be a Paraguayan person. Short. It's not supposed to be a joke. There's actually a whole debate about that, but I'm not diving into this. This is a part of the report, which is digress on this aspect. But I thought it was just a young woman killing me. Later on discovered that he appeared to be a child. You wouldn't be able to know that through the distance because all you see is a couple pixels. Again, the quality wasn't changed. It was that phone. It was an emergency recording because it was so conspicuous the way that he waited until I was passing to film me specifically, and then act weird out when I documented it, and then pretending to be kind of doing the same. Because as it turns out, I don't know if it's the first time and the second time, and keep in mind when I was in the bridge, I turned off the flashlight. No, you're missing the point here. Every individual, because then I put a feature to document all the individuals around, and there were like half a dozen stalkers around, were there. I'm testifying this to you because I was witness to that. To witness the whole thing, from the beginning to the end, right? As I said about angles before, angles are a very specific thing. And the idea with the children crimes is hardly new to anyone, right? Anyone who ever heard a guy calling racist to a cop knows that any criminal is gonna go whatever they have. And the angles is a thing, because when you have a narrow space like this, to imagine that guy carrying a lot of weight. Fuck up. I stopped because of drugs, but I'm gonna dive there in a minute. And we witness the whole thing, right? So here's the deal. As I do that, and I, just like all the times, again, those videos are on YouTube, so I don't know really what the idea there is. They are set to be published. Sorry. I thought that sometimes you hear criminals interacting as I'm passing by here. I'm going to document if this silence had stopped after. I noticed a changing sound after. I don't know if I noticed it stopping, because there are no traffic lights here, there are no crossings here, there are no nothing here. So if it had happened and then it stopped, I would put that down as evidence. Moving forward, normally, emergency vehicles turn on their signs if they need to pass on a crossing or whatever, so to avoid a collision, right? But there are no crossings on the highway. Moving forward. And I was leaving, and this happened. So I'm carrying my things, I put down my things, and I'm just catching my breath. In front of Hotel Phoenix, right in front of that bridge. And I put down my bag, and as I explained more of someone. I don't think this was on my phone though. And I'm explaining put on my bag. And I'm catching my breath because they're being dragging me through the bridge. Through the bridge, at several points I had to put down the bag to just catch a breath. Now, keep in mind, I carry this thing with much few interruptions while climbing those. That's not a slope, that's a fucking mountain. Okay, if you have a slope, it's the size of a small building. That's not a slope, that's the mountain. Like, that's the hill. It's a hill, it's not even like a small, whatever. That I will say to you very explicitly that there were now. Granted, I even talked to drugs at several points. Granted, that for the most part, I actually don't think so much. It was actually quite pleasant crossing. And sometimes I would just put my nose out and let the wind blow into me, and it was like being not quite fresh air, I would say, but definitely better than usual. But particularly getting closer, when I was arriving, all the time I had to put it down to just breathe, right? And then I'm catching down, much as I could, On the way out, then I catch my breath, stop to catch my breath. And the exact point, there was this female. And I say female Paraguay because it's at size. I just imagine it was one of those short women you see more often there because it has to do with ethnicity, it has to do with Native Americans from this area. They tend to have much shorter stature. So essentially that's what I imagine. For what if it was a child, I would have filmed the same way. Just I would have focused a bit less. And I would have mentioned in the video that was a child. It's essentially just the point. I would have. I don't know if I would have. I might have just pointed that out to you. I would have glanced at it almost for sure. But it would probably not be this long. Either way, as I was saying, especially because as I mentioned, the quality from that distance, because the distance was pretty big. That's my point. Also how angles work, that for you to be facing immediately in front of someone from a distance rather than close by, right? Which I suppose works either way, so it doesn't matter that much. At this point, I don't need to explain this to you. You're not being presented as a person, and if you are, you start by on this person, or probably follow off of me. This goes on for years. Is how they use these methods that we use by everyone. The only difference is that now they're targeting children more to do those crimes because they think it's a win-win scenario. They either get the crime done, or most likely, they get me to document that, and then they can do the same on that front. And that's what I'm saying. Now, this is what I thought up to yesterday. Yesterday when I was in the state, the same place I purchased the phone, the guy mentioned, the bag, mentioned the gloves, and then he mentions children. And he says, oh, there's a lot of children coming here. And he keeps acting away, and I was like, yeah, so what? And I didn't quite say in this tone, and I was more like, yes, what is the point? And I just kept asking because, to be fair, it's a big difference, okay? This might be proof of the very crime you're talking about. There's also a confession there. I'm going to let you listen as far as the systematic persecution to me. Because then it can come up with bullcrap, and again, as I said, if I was concerned with bullcrap, that would be, again, in a different galaxy of situations. As I said before, any accusations, the only thing I say to you is authenticate everything. You don't need extra commentary from me from that. Apart from what it is doing, just authenticate it. Okay, well, it's in the 21st century. Cybersecurity is a thing. Hacked, but also companies designed to catch on that exist. So you don't need my holding your hand to go through this. As far as those crimes in particular, with children, I never hurt a child. As far as the period, as far as the all children in general, for what I mean. As far as the whatever possible accusation can be, if it was drugs or still on there, what to talk about. Some of them are self-evident about the stalking, as I said. For whatever it is, just look it up. Just authenticate what you see, right? Because as I said before, let's say yesterday, right? All the individuals, because then after seeing that, and then I noticed that the phone flashlight was on. Now here's the deal. I turned off the flashlight in the bridge, right? No half ways about it. I stopped the flashlight in the flashlight in the bridge. So it was on already. I noticed it and I stopped it. I verbalized it. The flashlight on the phone was turned on for some reason. You can hear that in the audio, and then I turned it off. You can hear that in the audio on that phone, by the way, alongside there. Now, this one also has no battery, so let's just say you can hear that in the audio for sure, and so can they. And the idea was, all of a sudden the flashlight is on again. Now, I don't even use the phone because if this phone is hacked and discovered yesterday that this phone, they can stop it. Which, by the way, that's the evidence too. So I want to point out one other thing. As I said before, you've seen those criminals capable of interrupting those videos at all those times, right? So pay attention that they never stop having the capability. There's no limitation per day. They always have the capability to interrupt videos and do those things that you see them do every day. So that's why I keep tracking every video that I do. Right? The tempo vultured and do all sorts of other things. That is a two-lane thing. Much like what I was going to talk about, which was a couple baits. Up to now, they were just throwing those baits, and to me it was a simple assumption. They're trying to accuse me of just about everything under the book. It's not the first time that they accuse me of being a pedophile or stuff like that. Not directly, mind you, that's the thing. never actually single direct accusation of any of those things, let alone those more serious ones, or any procedure or anything of that sort, which is important. Because after all, as I said, you do those things, you open up the person for defense. Why do I make direct accusations, naming names, naming places, naming everything else? Because I'm not concerned. I'm testifying to either witness, not saying things in the wind and say, ooh, maybe. I do say maybe about those criminals because I don't know them. I don't care to know them. I'm not going to investigate them as of now. In the future, maybe. Keep those faces for a reason. And as I said, an individual who thinks a child is a prop or a child is anything in the ways of this, or even to be treated like an adult, and let me guess, I think that they even would say that they have the consent of the child as well. Because fucking shit sounds the same. But the thing is, say different shit people tend to sound in the same way. And then they try to argue that they'll go from legal guardian instead of just thinking like a normal human being and saying, what the fuck is wrong with you? Or in this case, with me, if they were the ones asking. But either way, my point is, here's the deal. Okay, that was a headache. Never mind. Yesterday, I noticed this eye only reactive to something in the air. Happened in the bridge and I was awaiting the bus. At first, again, I didn't thought it was such a big deal. I documented that in video on the phone as well. Once I realized that enough time has passed, there was no hair, and the eye didn't stop reacting. So if you realize it was some type of freak thing that they were doing, I wanted to put that on the file. Moving forward. I don't care to know about them, but you should look that up in the future. Again, any person who thinks those things is the general behavior that you don't see. Well, again, as I said, just to make sure that everyone is safe, everyone involved in that is safe, and a simple check should do reasonably good. After all, as I pointed out, volunteering that type of information